All right, we're going to start over again at the 110 mark. Welcome back to a special edition of That Bald Guy. There we are. We were supposed to have an in-house guest today, but we had to reschedule, so instead we're going to get just a quick rant because I figure I might as well go ahead and make sure that all of this lovely equipment is up to snuff and actually working. We had a slight meltdown on the last one. We tried to do a Zoom, but in any event, let's talk today a little bit about where we are and where we need to be. And when I say that, I think that we need to talk a little bit about leadership sometimes. And when we talk about leadership, we can look at leadership in a few different areas, right? We can look at it in terms of business. We can look at leadership in terms of day-to-day, personal time, whether it's in relationships, whether it's with your loved ones, whether it's with friendships, children. Leadership and leadership attributes, they are commonplace or need to be commonplace all the time. And unfortunately, we don't all utilize the knowledge that's given to us and the opportunities to learn more about leadership and how it can actually work for each of us in our day-to-day lives. I know there was a long way of just saying, hey, look, by the way, leadership skills work day-to-day lives. That's awesome. I know I could have just said that, but I didn't. I took the long-winded approach. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about emotional intelligence. I'm talking about temperament. I'm talking about the ability to focus on the return on relationship as opposed to the return on investment. Most often in times in business, most oftentimes in relationships, we are trying to find a return on the investment that we're putting in. We try as hard as we can to give something to others, and we expect something back in return. Fair. The downside to this is that more often than not, it's going to lead to disappointment. And why is that? Because not everybody thinks the same. Not everybody has the same, quote unquote, what do we call a love language per se, right? So we all have different ways of communicating. We all have different ways of reciprocating. We all have different ways of finding bonds and attachments with others. So if we're looking truly at it as an investment, then we are going to fail. We are going to fail. It's like the bank. Everybody used to say when I was young in business, which 15, 20 years ago, it was a while. But everybody used to say very simply, you have to make deposits in order to get returns, and I mean this is true. You have to deposit in order to withdraw. Right? You can't ask somebody for something if you've never invested in them, but the investment comes in different ways, right? Again, we can't invest and expect the same thing back. We have to know that what's going to be given back is going to be different, and that's where the emotional intelligence comes into play. Do you follow me on that? All right. So let's kind of cover that again real fast. Everybody makes investments. We all invest in other people. Right? And we expect a return on that investment. But the problem is that return is going to look different than what we put in. If you go to the bank and you give the bank a $100 bill and you say, this is my investment into your bank to hold on to me until I'm able to get it back. And then you go back to that bank, 2 years later and you say, hey, look, I want my $100 back plus the interest, which is, maybe like 25 cents at that time because, there's not a lot of interest at a bank, but we're just using whatever, we're just talking. So you go back and you say, I want my $100 back. They go, no problem. So they give you $100 back. And you say, wait a second, this is not the same $100 that I gave you. You say, what do you mean? It's $100. Well, yeah, but it's a different $100 bill because I wrote my name on the $100 bill that I gave you when I made my investment, when I deposited with you. So where is my actual $100 bill back? Well, you don't get your actual $100 bill back. You don't get that. What you get is something different. You get something that's of equal value, but it looks different. It feels different. It is different. It is not the exact same as what you put in, so you can't expect the same back. Do we make sense now? In leadership, you have to understand that. In daily life, we have to understand that. More often than not, leaders, and this goes for not all leaders, but quite oftentimes, leaders are folks, and when I use the word leaders lightly, I use the word leaders in terms of a ladder status, right? The higher up the chain, leadership team. Usually folks who are more senior. It's not often you go to a company and the entire leadership team is made up of 20 and 30-year-olds. It's just not. Usually you're looking at folks who are, 40, 50, 60, sometimes 70. The board is made up of 60, 70, and 80-year-olds, right? It's a little bit different. So in looking at leadership teams now as to where they're going, we have to see that the way of the dinosaur is gone. The way that it used to be. All those folks who were in their 60s and 70s in leadership, it's time to understand and to realize that people don't care about your investment. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I'll say it again. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right? Why would I listen to you if I don't think that you actually care about me? Because if you tell me something and you give me something to do, odds are it's going to be in your benefit, not mine. Do you care? If you don't care, why should we do it? If you are not personally invested in the employee, why should we do it? Now, I say this as a we being, personally right now, currently in a place as an employee, but I also have been in leadership for a long time. I have 15 years of leadership experience. I founded companies. I've built teams. I've turned teams around. I've turned around entire companies before. But it's through return on relationship, not investment. I invest time. I invest time. I invest a lot more than time. But I don't expect to get back from them what I put into it. I expect to get something different back. I expect that as a leader, when you go to refine someone, it has to be in a servant leadership form. Because that's building on the relationship. Right? That's building on the relationship. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You continue to care, you continue to show them that you care, and they will listen. Because you're invested the right way. You're not invested just for a return. You're invested in the relationship. And in relationships, you want to see people succeed. That's what it comes down to. You want to see people succeed, right? Okay. So let's backtrack again. Leadership. It's being able to invest. It's being able to make deposits, but knowing that you're going to get something different back in return. But it also cannot be a partnership or something that is entered into with the expectation of getting something back. That is just a part of the process because you're investing really in the relationship. And if you're truly invested in the relationship, then you're not really worried about what you're getting back because you are so consumed with helping the other person succeed that you know that if you can get them to their greatest potential, you know that if you can get them to where they truly can be, that you as a leader don't have anything to worry about. You have accomplished your goal. You have fulfilled your mission. You have helped somebody get to their ultimate peak. They are where they need to be. And let's say you've got a team of 10 or 15 people. Okay, great. Those 10 or 15 people, if you get each and every one of them, let's say you get 10 out of the 15 or 8 out of the 10 to hit their fullest potential at what it is that they're doing because you are invested in them and their well-being and their success. If that's the case, then guaranteed, you don't have to worry about being successful because you automatically will be. You automatically will be. So what's today's lesson? Today's lesson in leadership is simple. Invest in others. Invest in relationship. Don't look for a return on your investment. But know that there will be a return on relationships that are built. That's what today's lesson is. It's too often, again, that we have leaders in place that don't realize that. We have companies, brilliant companies, that years ago were forged in happy work environments, like a Facebook or a Google or a Zappos. Zappos was the big one. That was a really big one. They were great. Man, they set the standard. But so many companies tried to be just like them. So many companies tried to bring that into play. And then we had COVID, and then all of a sudden we go remote. Everybody goes remote. But now, what happens when you go remote? Well, you can't big brother your employees like you used to. Now you have to invest in that relationship. You have to, because they're not right next to you. You can't do what it is that you used to do. And people are so used to doing what they used to do that now you're watching a lot of companies fail. And you're watching a turnover in leadership because you're watching the youngest generation in the workforce go, hey, wait, I just found another job that's going to offer me $25,000 more a year. Do the same thing. And you, current job, are going to give me a 3% increase in a year where we've got 7%, 8% inflation. Awesome. Thanks for not helping. So we go back to the basics. Leadership. Invest in others. I'm going to use one more cliche. I got to throw it back out there. I got to throw this one out. Tina Young, old director at Ashford University. She was one who used to make this one popular. Feed your people. Feed your people. If you can feed your people, if you can make them happy, if you can make them full, and I mean full, make their hearts full, make their minds full, make them full, give them life. Oh, they'll crush it for you. They will crush it for you. So, thanks for listening to today's first spontaneous rant. Brought to you courtesy of That Bald Guy. Don't forget, if you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, make sure to follow. We'll be back doing this all the time. I'll have more episodes coming up as well. We'll have Kyle Stepik joining us here for the next episode that we'll be recording. We'll be talking about the cannabis industry. We'll be talking about marijuana laws. We'll be talking about his hemp company and what he's been able to do as a small business owner and entrepreneur. So make sure to join us for that and many, many more. Thanks again for tuning in. Once again, this is That Bald Guy. Bye-bye.